Hey, everybody, welcome to Matt Men. This is a very special Matt Men. This week we're going to be doing 1,000 shows, and Rich and I thought, what a great treat to have a first-time guest on the show, right? First time.
Absolutely.
This guy is an unbelievable pro wrestler, but the last couple of years has become one of my favorite commentators in professional wrestling. Without delaying this anymore, I want to introduce Rocky Romero, NJPW Superstar. One of my favorites, by the way. Rocky, first of all, pleasure to have you here today.
Such nice things. I love it. Just keep going.
Dude, we were huge Roppongi Vice fans.
Big Forever Hooligans fans.
Yeah, big Forever Hooligans fans. Trent actually is from not too far from me here in New York.
Nice.
It's a pleasure to have you on, and what a great time to have you on. Congratulations, all the success for New Japan. First of all, Wrestle Kingdom was unbelievable. 2-night event. You and Kevin Kelly, by far my favorite team right now.
Thank you.
By the way, Gino's great too. Not to take anything away from him.
And Chris Charlton is fantastic. What he does. He's really something special. I don't know. I'm just talking about New Japan. I'm passionate about New Japan. I've been with New Japan for so many years now, and I love the product. I love the guys, and I'm a big fan of New Japan even before I started. I'm Liger and Guerrero as Black Tiger, and the J Cups. I mean, those are the things that really made New Japan unique and what I fell in love with. So to be talking about it is like no issue. I don't know if I could do it for like another wrestling company, but we'll definitely do it for New Japan,
I always, we have a lot of the guys on the show, and I always like to begin with what got you into pro wrestling, because it's such a, watching, we're all, you, myself, and Rich, we're about the same age, probably 1 year apart, all of us. And it was such a pivotal part of my childhood. And that's kind of what got me into this. And I'm a radio fan, so I got into radio, and then I got into podcasting and doing a wrestling show with Richard, and now I'm involved with Capital Wrestling in Jersey. What got you into actually going from, this is really cool, I like this, to, hey, I could kind of do this?
Well, I think like the passion of wrestling got instilled in me like really young, at a young age. My family's Puerto Rican. My grandma's like an old Puerto Rican lady, and she used to watch pro wrestling, like back east all the time. So she used to watch me on Saturday morning. I'd be watching like Superstars with her, and she would be like all amped up. She'd make Jello for us. We'd be eating Jello, and she would be like really into the show, and like so much where she would be like taking her chanclas off and like throwing them at the TV. And I think that something about that energy was attractive to me, and how the wrestlers are really like controlling the audience, and it was really appealing. And I think that something about that was like, oh wow, this is something that's really cool. It's not like anything else on television, So I don't know.
It's a very similar story, because my grandmother came to this country in 1978. So for her, like her first thing that she ever saw was pro wrestling, and she loved wrestling, and that's what got me into wrestling, where my grandfather, my grandmother would sit there, watch wrestling, and just start screaming at the TV.
Right. Were they English speakers?
Barely.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's like a big deal, because you don't really need to know English to understand what's going on,
Good guys and bad guys. I mean, it's a simple story.
Yeah.
I love hearing those, because, I'm first generation born here. So when I hear like a story like your grandmother throwing her slippers at the TV, screaming at the screen, like my grandmother hated Ric Flair. Ric Flair. I mean, just, oh my God, when that guy would come on, she would just keep screaming, he's a bad man, he's a dirty man.
He basically she was old school. She didn't like anybody who had like any guy who had long hair.
Yeah.
So she hated like Bret Hart. And I'm like, Bret Hart, no, he's like the savior of Canada. Grandma, he's a good dude, she wasn't with it.
I love that. So, I mean, you went from that into your passion. By the way, before we continue with this, I want to remind everybody, Rock is here to talk about an unbelievable event happening. The U.S. Tour is kicking off for New Beginning USA, January 24th, kicking off in Tampa, Florida at the St. Petersburg Coliseum. Tickets are still available. You have a jam-packed card. By the way, the whole tour has an unbelievable card happening. And this is the this is the beginning of the U.S. expansion for you guys, right?
No, yeah, absolutely. Last year we tried to do this concept with splitting the crews because there's going to be a new beginning tour, but in Japan. But this time, it wasn't successful. We had some issues with the visa situation, and the Japanese talent wasn't able to make it. So, we're coming in strong this time. Tanahashi's a part of the tour. Ibushi is a part of the tour. Bullet Club is going to be there. God. It's Juice Robinson, myself. There's some new names like Alex Zane that are joining the crew. It's going to be a hell of a tour, and I think if this is successful, then we'll get more U.S. tours and really try to make this expansion work.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. We went to the Garden Show for the New Japan Ring of Honor, and it was one of the best wrestling shows like we've ever seen.
Like a pure wrestling show.
Yeah,
to experience that in the crowd, right, Rich?
Oh, it was fantastic. It was just being there in the
so sick that night. What an amazing crowd it was.
Yeah,
so much fun. Yeah, I was in the Rumble. That Rumble was crazy. It was
the
so
Rumble was awesome.
One of the funnest Rumbles I've ever been in. Yeah, Muda came out. Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, the Muda Liger, when Muda came out and then they had the Muda Liger stare off, that was crazy.
I've never seen so many grown men cry when that happened. Because me and my buddy got really good seats, and we were like kind of in the middle level, and both of us were like blown away completely. And then we looked around, and it's all these dudes like maybe our age, 30s, just bawling their eyes out to their poor girlfriends about seeing Muda at Madison Square Garden.
And the girl, you gotta explain it to the girlfriend, right? The girlfriend's like, "Why are you losing your mind? There's this guy in a mask coming out," and you're like, "No, you don't understand. It's Muda. I got to see Muda for the first time ever. Most likely for most of those guys, right, in the crowd.
Oh yeah,
and Liger too. So here's what's fascinating about you, Rocky, is that you started off in the New Japan system. You did the dojo in I guess 97, 98, right?
No, dojo came around. I started independently first with a small company called Empire Wrestling Federation, School of Hard Knocks, and then the dojo opened in 2000, I think, or 2001, something like that. Yeah.
But you were part of a great class over there. I mean, the guys that were part of that dojo were, Daniel Bryan, right?
Yeah, 2001. That's when it opened.
2001.
Yeah, it was myself, Daniel Bryan, T.J. Perkins, Ricky Reyes, Samoa Joe was a part of that, it was crazy. I mean, just they opened this dojo. It was basically Antonio Inoki's like kind of wanted a gym near his home in Santa Monica, and so got New Japan to fund this dojo. Then they started like they didn't know what they were going to do, so they started looking for talent, and they invited us to come in and train. And I just trained there every day until somebody would book me for New Japan. And then, it happened about 10 months later. And we all went over for the first time, debuted at the Tokyo Dome, which was insane.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was weird. And the rest is kind of history,
Was that Wrestle Kingdom 8 that you made the debut?
No, this was like in October. This is when they were still doing an October Tokyo Dome. So
okay,
this was October 2002.
So you and you touched on Antonio Inoki, and you've seen the transition from era to era at this point. You were there in the 2000s, you got to see it, and to now. Talk about if you can, talk about the transition a little bit, because Rich too. We used to go. I don't know if you're from the East Coast originally or not, or you hung out here, but in Queens, we used to go to like Queens Boulevard to buy cassettes, bootleg cassettes of Masawa and all this, like all these tapes from Japan coming in, and even the FMW stuff, Wings. So but you've seen the transition of New Japan over the last almost 20. I mean, that's crazy to say 20 years.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit on how it transitioned from strong style, from the strong style technique to what we have right now. I mean, semi strong style still, but from the Inoki era to now. Yeah.
I mean, New Japan was, there was two companies really. There was New Japan and All Japan, right, for so many years. And the All Japan style was the King Road style, like the Masao Kawada matches that you see. And then Inoki, he basically went a different way. He was like, no, I'm going to make pro wrestling a martial art. I'm going to fight all the greatest martial artists from around the world and show that professional wrestling is strong. And that was what strong style was. So it was very like rooted in MMA and, kind of like what that turned out to be and like pride, So like I was coming in, it was like that pride era, Yuji Nagata was on top. We had like Fujita was still there, and like we had all these like the first tour I was on, Boss Rutan was on that tour. So
Boss is a fun guy.
Yeah,
I trained at his gym in LA. We have a couple mutual friends, and oh my god, hearing him tell stories about just pancreas and even New Japan on how he's like yeah, I thought it was shoot, so I go bam bam right to kidney. I'm like I'm laughing. I'm like, no, it's not a shoot.
Yeah, no, it was a very crazy time. So you can imagine like even at the dojo, the people who would walk in at that time, like one day DDP would be walking in. This is like pre, DDP yoga. I think he maybe just started doing yoga, like just practicing himself. He wasn't like a goober or anything. And, then the next day, like Steve Blackman would come in. And then later that day, like Boss would come in and be like, oh, let's teach high kicks. And we're like, what? And then, like it was just a crazy, crazy time. Barnett used to come in all the time and like teach us catch wrestling stuff. I mean, it was just.
How do you think that helped you? Because I think a lot of the guys, and I know a lot of guys starting out in pro wrestling now, or have been in the business for like 5-6 years that are on the independent level here on the East Coast, but they don't have the accessibility to be with legitimate shoot fighters, catch fighters. They're learning a different style. How do you think that changed your trajectory, having guys like Boss come in to show you how to do kicks and Josh come in and show you how to do catch style?
I think it definitely made my style a little unique, especially if you go back and look at like the stuff that I was doing in the early 2000s, even probably to like 2006 or 7. It was very influenced in a lot of MMA techniques or different martial art techniques. I think it was important to me because it was what made me different, because everybody else was doing other stuff, it definitely could see it like with Bryan Danielson, how it affected him and it still does, I don't know. I was just doing what I was told, and kind of just trying to figure out a style that was different and unique, because I would try to mix like my roots of, American lucha libre, mixed in with, some of these like martial art techniques that, we were learning at the dojo. And I was just trying to be different because I always thought that was important, was trying to make a style that was different and kind of complete,
Well, that definitely worked for you because flash forward to now, and what do they got you doing? Like triple duty on commentating, managing, wrestling? Do you train guys also?
I don't train guys not really. That's Shibata's job at the dojo now. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of up to him. He's the trainer, but I'll help out and step in every once in a while. Like we're doing a seminar on the East Coast to get some people hyped for the dojo, maybe, look for some talent as a part of this New Beginning USA tour. We'll be doing it in Charlotte. So I'll be assisting Shibata on that one, just kind of, especially being the English speaker. So I just kind of help him get his point across to the students,
How did that come about with you going from being a wrestler that has been there for a while to them? Were they like, hey, do you think you can do commentary? Was that something that you were like, you know what, I think I can jump on commentary, I think I can manage these guys?
I mean, they just asked me to do commentary one day. It was at that time, it was Steve Carino and Kevin Kelly that were doing the commentary, and it was like the final 3 days of the G1. And they said, oh, we would like to have a special guest. We're going to have Rocky come in and he'll say hello to the fans. They'll give me a live mic. I'll say hello to the fans, and then we'll like start the show. And so it was really cool. So, I got to do that. And then I said a little thing in Japanese, to welcome all the fans to the live crowd. and then we started the broadcast, and I was in it. But thank God I had like two professionals who knew they were doing, because they knew how to like throw it to me, and still Kevin Kelly is so good at that, and just kind of like throw it to you, and you can speak on whatever the situation may be. But in the beginning I had no idea what was going on, and I still feel like I have no idea what's going on, but thank God I have Kevin Kelly.
No, dude, you're great on. Listen, I've done color commentary multiple times, and it is so much more difficult than what anybody thinks, because it's not only about being prepared and knowing what's happening in the ring. You also have to be quick enough to catch any kind of couple second break between you and your commentary partner, where you can't. My biggest problem was when I did it first, I was like, okay, I'm going to get this in, I'm going to get this in, I'm going to get this in. But things move so fast that you can't have this prepared concept of what you're going to do before you go out there, because everything goes up, up in smoke essentially when you don't expect what's going to happen in the ring. I genuinely applaud everything that you're doing on the air with Kevin Kelly, because it's such a difficult task. To go out there for hours, by the way, not like 2 hours, for hours you're doing this. By the way, I want to.
Are like 5.5 hours or something.
Yeah.
And we have a 4-man booth, and somehow we didn't step all over each other.
No bathroom breaks.
Yeah. No, we took bathroom breaks.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, because there was 4-man booth, so we kind of figured we had a plan of like, okay, 4th match, Rocky will sneak out, and 5th match, Kevin might sneak out during the VTR, So yeah, we were safe on that one. Those big shows are helpful.
So we mentioned the Tampa, Florida event Friday, January 24th this week, but I also want to remind you that the show continues in Tennessee on the 26th at the War Memorial Coliseum, Durham, North Carolina, the Durham Armory, Miami, Florida, Charles F. Dodge City Center, and Atlanta, Georgia at the Coca-Cola Roxy on February 1st. This is a lined up tour. Tickets are available when you go to NJPW1972.com. You can buy your tickets over there. You can see the schedule over there. And then you go right back to Japan. And then simultaneously, the event's kicking off in Japan, but everything kind of blends in after that, which is unbelievable.
Right. Yeah. Everything will end up in Osaka. That's like, the big show. Osaka Joe Hall for the first time in February, which is like, it's a big arena, and so that'll where everything will culminate at the New Beginning tour. Yeah.
So I want to know about what you're enjoying right now in pro wrestling. We're in a very interesting time with New Japan, obviously having blown up over the last 3, 4, 5 years with a lot of North American exposure. I attribute that to the internet and how everything is kind of spread. Bullet Club and everything else that kind of brought a lot of casual fans' attention to New Japan Pro Wrestling. But right now we have a tremendous boom happening as far as content availability. Growing up, like I said, it was tapes. That's how you would get other things. I used to get OVW tapes sent to me. I used to buy older tapes. But now, because of WWE Network and New Japan World and everything else that's happening, right now we're in a boom period with so much wrestling on television and available via digital platforms. What are you enjoying right now about this with AEW happening and New Japan? Is there anything that stands out to you and you're saying, wow, this is great?
Really, to be honest, it's just the amount of people that are working, I think, is amazing. Professional wrestlers, commentators, referees,
making money
and making a living, which is really, really awesome. And and not being pigeonholed to like one certain company. Or, so I think that that's what's the best part of this whole thing is that, a lot of talented people are getting opportunities to make a living and live their dream, being involved in professional wrestling and being able to do it at a high level. And, and everybody's really doing their best to produce a really great product. And you can see that. And it's cool because it's like little rivalries between friends. In different companies that, like everybody's working really hard to be different and working really hard to, to make their product the best. And, this is going to be like the golden years of some of the best wrestling of all time. when we 10 years down the line, when we talk about this period, it'll be like, oh, they produce the best wrestling, the actual best wrestling products. And I don't. Hopefully, it'll grow and we'll get some new fans. I mean, that's the only thing that I'm worried about is you can't really predict that. But hopefully, there'll be actually new fans that end up watching these products, and hopefully the industry as a whole can grow.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I spoke to somebody. I don't want to name his name, but I was talking to someone. He's done very well outside of WWE. And the conversation we were having was that he has offers coming to him regularly, and he doesn't even have to think twice about being able to support his family by having to go to a company. He could just do whatever he wants and work the schedule he wants, and he's making a decent living, and he's happy. And he doesn't have the concern of, I'm approaching 36, 37. I got a couple more years left. I have to go to WWE to kind of secure my future. And that's great to hear that there are so many different options happening where you can make money and work the schedule you want. I mean, first of all, you're a great example because you didn't go there. Nothing against going there, but you didn't go there, and you've done what you've wanted to do. And that's, I think, the story of this generation of professional wrestling, where the company doesn't dictate your future; you kind of dictate it.
No, absolutely. And I had an offer to go there at one time, and join the Cruiserweight Classic, and they wanted me to be a trainer at NXT and stuff. But I just decided like that was just too early in the career to go that route, and I knew that New Japan was still growing, so it was like, why jump off this train now when why don't we see where it ends up? You've been here for a long time, invested a lot of time, energy into being a part of New Japan. I didn't think that it was the right time to leave yet. So, but I'm fortunate to have the offer and the opportunity. It obviously made New Japan take me more seriously as well. So I mean that's what's good about all this competition as well, is certain people will get new opportunities thrown at them even within the companies that they already work for. I don't know. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I'm excited about the future of professional wrestling. I mean, we're really we're on the cusp of something. I don't know what it will end up being, but I'm excited for it.
Oh, yeah. It seems like it's in an upward trajectory at this point. Who are some of the guys on the New Japan roster that you love to watch?
Okada's definitely my favorite. And,
hard not to be.
Yeah, he's just it's just the way that he is able to mesh so well with anybody, Like that's the wrestlers that I always really like. Like Eddie Guerrero's like probably my favorite wrestler of all time. Awesome. Rey Mysterio maybe being like a close second, because and it's because those guys, you could put them with whoever and they would have these fantastic matches that really would stick out, And I think Okada is kind of like a great example of that. He's like probably more of our generation's like Bret Hart, Like
that's a good comparison.
That is a good comparison. I've never really thought about that. How as an Eddie fan, were you over the moon to do the Black Tiger thing for a little bit?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. No, it was a huge deal to me. And, especially because of that. And it was just like this great honor. It was like weird when they called me and asked me, and, hey, do you want to be Black Tiger? I was like stunned for a second. I was like, me? Are you sure you're calling the right person? You're not calling Danielson or something? They're like, no, we want you. Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah. What do I have to do?
To talk about Okada a little bit, I was talking to one of my friends, and he's not really into New Japan, but he's watches whatever's on TV. And I made him watch two matches. I made him watch the Kenny Omega match, and I made him watch the most recent Wrestle Kingdom match for Okada. And he goes, it took him like 10 minutes, and he goes, "Oh my God, this guy's the best."
Really?
That was it. That was the moment. He's like, "Oh my God, I never saw it before. Now I watched it, and now I see it." Which is fascinating to see from like casual fans discover something like that. Right. It kind of brings you happiness. You're like, wow, look, this guy figured it out,
Especially like how fans are. Sorry to cut you off, but
no, go ahead.
Like especially casual fans. I mean, it's kind of strange to get into Japanese professional wrestling, because like, it's not presented in the way that you're traditionally used to, like, a guy comes out on a mic, another guy comes out and challenges that guy, he gets cut off, blah, 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 and then they have a match, like that's kind of like the formula that we're used to, but it always like seems to start from a promo or whatever, and you're kind of just, okay, these guys are having a match that's important for a belt. And that's it. Like, okay, I get that story. So, but I don't know. Just traditionally, we're into like these big, big personalities, and it's kind of cool that casual fans are catching on to, just Japanese professional wrestling in general.
It's always been a fascinating thing, specifically for me. Like my wife cannot stand pro wrestling, but I've been a fan of NJPW for years, and that's the one thing that she will sit there and either watch or ask questions about. Yeah, as opposed to watching like another product where it's like you said, the traditional approach of like drawn out promo segment, etc., as opposed to like, when you see the Tokyo Dome show, you get the vignettes, but it's not drawn out. It's like, that's the climax of the movie, like everybody's ready to fight. And I think that's like that's the way I always tell people how to watch Japanese wrestling in that regard. Like this is the end of like a movie or a scene in a movie where you're going to see something happen as opposed to like delaying the inevitable,
So here's a question that I had, because I posted over last night, we're going to have Rocky on, and I got a couple questions. One of the most asked was, what is your favorite match of all time that you've been in and one that you've witnessed?
Whoa. Probably the most recent one would be the Phantasmo Super Junior match for myself. Just because that was like, we main evented Cork and Hall, and I had never done main evented Cork and Hall in a singles. And just the crowd was so insane. Like girls were crying and fans were like crying because when I won, and it was just a really cool. And like Phantasmo was undefeated at that time. He had already beaten Ospreay. It looked like the bad guy was going to take the whole, Best of Super Junior tournament. And then here's the guy who shouldn't be in the main event, who loses probably way more than he wins, obviously, and he had no chance in hell to beat, this new superstar, and here I come and I tap him out, and it was just a super emotional moment, and it really nothing like I've ever had in professional, like Tanahashi, some beloved character like that, it was pretty crazy, and greatest matches other than that, maybe like Guerrero Mysterio Halloween Havoc, just
great match.
Oh yeah,
insane match that nobody will ever be able to do again, type thing.
Mm-hmm. Was there one match when you were younger, when you were a kid, that you're like, I love this thing, I love professional wrestling? Is there one that ever stood out to you like that?
Well, probably Warrior versus Hogan, the double belts match.
That's the moment, man. That's really the moment.
I mean, that was like such an iconic, and it was more of a moment than a match, I feel like, but yeah.
That's our age group too.
That is our age group. It's that, and I was at SummerSlam '91, and I saw the Rich. I can see your face whenever I talk about this match, right?
Yeah, as I know it's coming.
It was Perfect and Bret Hart. That was the match that I saw, and I was like, oh my god, I love wrestling. That match stands out to me always. And Royal Rumble '92. Yeah, that was it too.
That was a lot of fun. Rocky, do you prefer wrestling singles or wrestling tag?
It's a good question. I mean, I do love tag wrestling. I've been doing it for so long. I do really enjoy it. Right now, I got to work with Ryusuke Taguchi just last year, and that was very refreshing because I hadn't done any tag team wrestling in a long time, and to be working with him, he's a master. He's so smart and he's so different. And it was just a lot of fun. It really took the pressure off of feeling like you had to perform at a certain level, because that's how I always felt like, being a tag team wrestler and having title matches, you're like, oh, how do I be better than the last title match, So, but like with him, it was just was just fun because you're actually having fun out there, you know, and you're not thinking about, you know, the stress of that. Singles, it's stressful, of course, but I am enjoying it because I feel like people are just taking notice a little more of me as a singles wrestler. After the Super Junior match with Phantasmo, you know, and the match I had with Ospreay during there, and just the tournament in general, because people were kind of like down that I was in it at first. You know, they're like, oh, the manager, the guy who does commentating, is going to be in this tournament. Why didn't they get like blah 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 so and so? You know, like some really cool high flying wrestler. They put this guy in there, you know, and then
so weird.
I know, but it worked out. You know, it really worked out. I think people's expectations weren't high, and then I got in shape. You know, I got like ready for this tour, for that tour, and I really wanted to show everybody, you know, that there was a lot left in the tank still, and I think I did. So I'll be doing hopefully the same thing for this year's Super Junior. I got to stay healthy, and I'm going to start probably doing some pretty crazy training starting soon, because I'll want to be like 2-3 months ahead of time, you know.
Just getting ready for heavyweight. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
I don't know. You know, I take it as it comes. You know, who knows what other job I'll be doing by then? You know, I don't know. You know, I'm enjoying the commentating. I think that's really important to me. This year, maybe I won't be doing as many tours of doing commentary because I do want to focus a little more on the wrestling this year, and and I do want to be a part of any of the U.S. expansion stuff. I think that's important to me. And what else? I mean, I want to do the Super Junior. I love an opportunity against, you know, somebody like Hiromu or Dragon Lee, or, you know, or whoever the champ is. If it's Ospreay, I would love to wrestle Ospreay. I would love to go for the belt, you know, at least you get an opportunity to go for the belt. That would be super important for me. And then the long run, 5 years, I mean, I'll still be wrestling. I'll be, like 42 or something like that in 5 years. So, yeah, I'll still be wrestling, I'm sure. And I just want to keep growing the company and helping to be one of the voices that helps to push New Japan Pro Wrestling, you know, all across the world, you know.
Maybe another podcast, Rocky.
It's in the works, possibly. You know,
all right.
we always talk about it. You know, me and the boys are always talking about it, and I don't know. It's something that definitely could be happening in the very near future. We've gotten some very interesting offers, I can tell you that.
Talking Shop part 2, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I want more Chico content.
The return.
More what content?
I want more Chico content.
More Chico content? I would love some more Sex Ferguson, but we won't see that on WWE.
Not for a while.
No, we got Tex, right? They did Tex Ferguson.
Yeah, but, you know, Sex Ferguson could definitely make a return if Talking Shop ever returns. I mean,
I would love that.
I mean, it could be a thing. It could be a thing.
I would love that. I want to remind everybody, go, if you're in the Florida area, if you're in the Tampa area, on Friday, January 24th, Tampa, Florida, at the St. Petersburg Coliseum, New Beginnings USA. Tickets on sale, NJPW1972.com. You could go there, get your tickets. Rocky's on the card. It's a big event, multiple day shows. You could get the full schedule over there. Rocky, I would love to have you on again. This was an unbelievable pleasure to have you on. This is becoming one of my favorite guests now.
Absolutely.
This is on my list. This is on my list.
Back. Yeah, no, this was super fun. I appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to me, and whenever you want, hit me up. I mean, now you guys got my number, so I would love to come back and be a part of the Matt Man podcast. Absolutely.
Of course. And then if you're in New York soon, listen, I'd love to get together, maybe have a couple drinks and, talk shop, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm totally down to do some drinking and talking shop.
We'll take you someplace special.
We'll take you someplace very special. I know, listen, you're a part of Roppongi Vice, and I know a lot of stuff goes on in Roppongi, a lot of clubs in Roppongi. Maybe we could make you feel at home here with that environment.
That would be wonderful. Wonderful.
Where can people find you, Rocky?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Azuka Rock, AZUCARROC. You can find, check out ChicoLuchador.com, RockyRomeroMerch.com. You can get all my merch. I got some cool masks that are up there. Yeah, find me on njpwworld.com all the time. You know, I'm either talking, flapping my gums, or doing some wrestling.
Awesome. Guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to the podcast. Also, check out everything Rocky's doing. And we're going to have a number of shows this week. It's a busy week for us. We got a show coming up tomorrow. We have another show in 2 days. So keep coming back. There's content all week long here on Mat Men, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, everywhere podcasts are available. And we'll see you all next time.